Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I am joined again today by Jonathan Ferguson, who is author of the brand new, currently available for pre-sale, upcoming book from Headstand Publishing, Thorneycroft to SA-80 British Bullpup Rifles. And this raises an interesting question. What the heck is a bullpup? Like, where does that name come from?
Don't ask me.
Why? You wrote the book, I have to ask you.
I only wrote about British bullpups. No, we very, right from the start, we said we would do a couple of fairly hefty contextual chapters, an introduction, and then a chapter specifically on what is a bullpup. And then you go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so what was involved in, like, how did you find out, and what did you find out? Where did this term come from?
Like all, you and I have worked on definitions for a couple of projects, and it's kind of fun, but kind of annoying at the same time.
It's in some ways very difficult to figure out who's the first person to say or do X.
Yeah, who's the first to say or do it, and then because every term means something different to different people in different places at different times, how do you lock that down? Especially when you're writing about, effectively, I mean, the date on the book is 1901 to 2018. The earliest bullpup in the book, or mentioned in the book, pictured in the book, is from 1860-ish. So
Nice.
How, were they even calling it a bullpup then? No,
I would assume not. Yeah.
And in fact, the British officially never call anything they make a bullpup.
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy.
That's surprising.
Except when you dig into the etymology of where the word comes from, which is almost separate from what it means, because you can use words without knowing where they come from. But I am particularly fascinated, as you know, with etymology in our field. So I went down that rabbit hole. And long story somewhat shorter, the bullpup might be a British invention, we think, but the word is an American invention.
Okay. Do tell. From when?
So the first references I started coming across, and other people had done the same, were like bench rest target rifles. 1940s, you can sort of push it into the 30s, because just because the first reference, if I'm remembering rightly, is 1940, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Clearly it has some currency in the 30s in America, and these guys are wildcatting cartridges to create weird, small bore, powerful cartridges. They are butchering and rebuilding guns in different configurations for whatever their needs might be. And although the military need or requirement for a bullpup becomes a compact, in theory lighter weight infantry rifle, so you can go in and out of vehicles, on and off horses, that kind of thing, in a civilian context, it's more about convenience, moving around the gun in a static position.
Okay.
So the 1860s-ish British bullpup actually has the same reason for existing as the 1930s American ones. The American term is from the 30s, early 40s, and what's the reason people don't get it anymore, and I didn't get it either, is that the name, the term, bullpup, or bullpup, because it was originally two separate words, was a very common term for literally a bulldog puppy.
Huh. Okay.
And this isn't just, because you'll read some etymological things, or especially the amateur attempts where it's like a guy in a pub, and I think it's like, POSH stands for port, out, starboard, home, and then suddenly people are repeating that like it's true, which it's not, by the way. And the same is true here to a lesser extent, in that bullpup, well, we just don't know what that means anymore. But in the 19th century, early 20th century, I'm just off to buy a bullpup, everyone knew what you meant. You meant a little squat, ugly, but still aggressive and powerful dog.
Interesting.
Bullpup rifle.
Okay.
And again, just in case you think I'm making this up, the reference, I'm trying to include the reference in the book, directly reference it. There's an article in one of the American gun publications about care and feeding of bullpups.
Huh. Yeah.
Specifically talking about the gun.
Interesting.
It's not a reader's letter about dogs, it's about the gun. So, managed to nail that one.
That's really cool. And then that continues to use in this day.
Yeah, and I don't feel bad about the spoiler for the book, because I feel like people should know that.
Yeah.
It's a minor point, but it's a cool and interesting point, I hope.
Yeah, very much so. Awesome. Well, there you go. That is where bullpup comes from and what it is. So, actually, we didn't actually say what it is. What is the technical definition of a bullpup?
This is the danger of these various rabbit holes as you get fixated on one thing. So, almost separate, but in parallel too. I've tried to come up with, and this may yet change in editing, a one-sentence definition of what one is. I'm not going to read it out because the comment section will explode. But it's, the informal definition, as I'm sure everybody knows,
Let's go with informal. If you want to get the full, exact technical definition, you have to buy the book.
Well, let's start with the received definition, and then explain briefly why that doesn't work.
Okay.
So it's usually the action or the magazine. So then you're immediately limiting yourself to magazine-fed rifles. Not all of them are magazine-fed. Well, most of them are, to be fair, and by the time the term is in common use, they are magazine-fed, even if it's an internal Mauser-type mag. But
the magazine's behind the trigger.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, in most situations, the magazine and the action go together. So, yeah, magazine/action behind the trigger, but it's the reference point that causes the problems. When you start thinking about things like Uzi, SA-23, pistols,
the breech face is behind the trigger.
Virtually all. This is why, and I don't want to throw any shade at the Boberg bullpup.
Oh, it's been repeatedly pointed out to me that using this definition, all handguns are, or many handguns are bullpups. And in fact, the breech location on the Boberg is not different than any other typical handgun.
You've got it in one.
Yeah.
So intuitively, you look at it and you go, yeah, I see why they're calling that a bullpup. But the designer didn't call it a bullpup. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't believe so. I haven't asked him.
Then there's the application of the term. What does it mean to call a handgun a bullpup? You know, it's a marketing term.
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
Yeah. But if you can establish like data points almost on the gun of where these different components interrelate, don't relate, you can come up with a working definition. So that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to do. So yeah, you end up with virtually all magazine and pistol grip designs a bullpup. No one calls those a bullpup. You have to marry the technical, nerdy definition stuff with practical application.
Right.
And actually, what I've worked on, I hope works for that. And it's really to do with where you're grasping the gun.
Okay.
Bearing in mind, not all bullpups have pistol grips.
Correct. Thorneycroft does not. All right. We'll leave it there. We'll leave the rest as a treat for people who pick up a copy of the book.
To be continued.
Yes, indeed. So, if you're interested in bullpups, in British bullpups in specific, the Thorneycroft and Gobsols, the EM series after World War II, the current production SA-80 family, and the Enfield weapons system that led into it, all of these are covered in awesome detail in Jonathan's newly released book. So check out the description text. You'll find a link there to the Kickstarter where it is currently available for pre-sale. You can pick up a copy. Price is a little bit reduced on the Kickstarter compared to what it will be once the book is out and in regular sale. And there are some cool perks that you get for being part of the Kickstarter. So definitely check it out. It's a fantastic book. I'm really looking forward to getting my own hands on my first printed copy. And thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.